Is this my chip cart? Is this my chippy cart here? Yes, it is my chippy cart, and it's quite appropriate because I can't be waiting up 45 minutes, then 20 minutes extra on a school night. All these delays to a game that's already past my bedtime anyway, and now I've got to do a podcast. I am going to need something. I'm going to need some pep, and I don't mean Pep Guardiola. I mean, oh yeah, I mean Philip Clement Pep. How you doing, folks? How's things? Alec Anderson here. This is your Gersnet immediate post-match reaction pod, coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering. I'm talking to you just after Rangers have beaten Dundee by 5-0. FIVE 5. I'm holding up the fingers here. 5-0, the digits. If you're just listening to this pod as opposed to watching it yet again, missing out on some Jack Tatty, Harold Lloyd level visual humour. But I'm deadly serious. I wouldn't joke with you about the fact Rangers have won by 5-0 in last night's now, after midnight SPFL Premiership fixture. Just the third league game in charge for Philip Clement. His fourth game in total. He's conceded 1 goal. He's scored 4, 6, 11 altogether, and we're absolutely buzzing. But he got us down to 5 points behind Celtic. He gained 2 points on Celtic in his second league game in charge. And I did have the little thought, the little optimistic part of me, despite the fact that we always fail worse when Celtic fail in an earlier kick-off over the last 2.5 years or so. Anyway, a part of me did think, well, if Clement is the man, we're not just going to beat Hearts today in the league, we're actually going to put 4 or 5 past them and catch up with Celtic on goal difference, as well as gaining the 2 points on them. Didn't happen. We had the tightest win possible, of course, against Hearts, just winning by the odd goal at the latest possible stage in the game. But he did it next game. He did it tonight, or sorry, last night. He's cleaned out the goal difference altogether. There's no difference in the difference. And I'd forgotten about it tonight. It wasn't until after the game and I saw my good colleague, my good friend Craig Ray from Gersnet, my fellow podder on Gersnet, pointing it out that that's the goal difference levelled. That's just the gains, marginal gains he's talking about. The big man was talking about marginal gains yesterday, or the day before yesterday's press conference, the preview pre-Dundee presser with the media. He was saying, it's just marginal gains still. 5-0's no marginal gain, big man. And if marginal gains is gaining 2 points on Celtic in one league game and then catching them up in goal difference the next game, we're going to be okay, just as you say, taking it one game at a time. You might have remembered me after that if you're a regular on Gersnet, and if you are, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. You might remember me after my pre-match, my post-match reaction pod on Sunday after that Hearts game. My heart was going 10 to the dozen, my mouth was going even faster, really dangerous levels of excitement for a man of my age and considerable weight. And I was talking so quickly that it was almost unintelligible, it was almost incoherent, you almost couldn't make out what I was saying. So no danger of that tonight, because it's so late, it's so past my bedtime. Usually anyway with a midweek kickoff, and then it gets delayed by 45 minutes, then delayed by 20 minutes on top of that. I'll be falling asleep soon. I'm talking, that's why I'm talking so slowly right now, because there's no chance of me being overly excited when it's way past my bedtime, unless, I don't know, I mean, the one thing I remember with Philip Clement's press conference ahead of this game against Dundee was he also said how the only way he could get the Rangers players fit enough, as fit as he wanted them to be between before the next international break, or before January really, when he's going to start selling them and buying in properly fit guys, was if he did something that's not allowed, doing stuff that's not allowed. Sounded like he's talking about substances. He meant drugs. Big Phil, he meant drugs. And I have just worked out tonight that Big Phil is the drug. He is the juice. He is Mama's secret recipe. He is the Colombian marching powder. He is Daddy's sippy cup. Philip, Big Philip, Phil Scolari, Clement, you are the drug, and we are all buzzing off you right now. Yes, I was just joking. That's not a funny joke, by the way. Drugs, absolutely terrible. The bit I'm doing, the wee bit I was doing there at the beginning of the pod. Don't be copying me there, kids. I know I'm a big influencer with the youth. So don't be going out there and copying me, any of the youth who actually, not the guys that are on the buses going to the away games will know that was the worst impersonation of coke taking they've ever seen, because I've never done any. I've never done any actual illegal drugs. That was pretty apparent to anybody who knows their stuff there. Alcohol, of course, isn't in any way damaging because it's taxable. Chocolate, caffeine, Coca-Cola, coffee, all that. I'm not exactly what you'd call a straight edger. I do all that stuff, but I can't actually do marijuana. I was, that remedial course, I get put back a few years at university, but I did go to a lot of student parties, and there's always somebody on the dope doing the old Mary Jane. I've got the lingo, I've got the street smarts, and I couldn't partake. I couldn't talk because I couldn't inhale. I don't smoke. Not because of some sort of health kick. Look at me. But because I'm incompetent. I'm an incompetent smoker. I can't do it. I'm the Michael Beale of smoking. But what I have realised that I've more than made up for it. That the lack of the one kind of common addiction in Scotland for me, I've made up for it with taking the other common addiction in Scotland, a love of Rangers, to the next level, like a lot of you out there as well. And we're all buzzing, aren't we? We're all tripping. We are all absolutely flying on Philippe Clement's management, and we're just hoping that it's going to. There's going to be a slip up. We're going to have a crash at some point, but just don't let it be before the next international break. We break our lives up into international breaks, don't we? Get to the middle of this month that we are now in, November, and just get the chill out music on. Get in the kind of the dimly lit room, and just come down naturally, just gradually, and get ourselves ready for the big push up to that game at Parkhead just before the new year. And who knows what might happen. Who knows what might happen with the league race, with Celtic having a little bit of civil war over there at Paradise. We can continue to take advantage of that. But Philippe Clement is absolutely blowing the socks off us with a start now. There's 46 minutes between the first and second goal tonight. Michael Beale had, and I'm going to do this because in the preview pod I did yesterday ahead of this match, I was talking about how Clement, it's quite comparable. We shouldn't get too excited because it's quite comparable how Clement has started with how Michael Beale started. Michael Beale turned into a disaster, but just 11 months ago Michael Beale took over from Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, and he won his first competitive game. Was a home league win over Hibs, same as Clement, and his second was a big comeback win, up at Pittodrie. It was actually a better and more dramatic, a later comeback win than Clement effected on Sunday just past. Scott Arfield coming on and scoring 2 goals in extra time, no need for penalties, but very, very, very late in the day with that one. So maybe there's a comparison there. And Michael Beale has won 2 games 4-0 this season, as I say, both against Livingston. Won the League Cup, both at Ibrox. So maybe winning the game by 5-0 isn't that, much better. Are Dundee that much better than Livingston? Well, they beat them 2-0 at Livingston on Saturday, and they were in 5th place in the league tonight, Dundee, before the game kicked off. But I think about it, and Michael Beale was really good at the away performances in the league, particularly in the first, when he finished last season for us, when he came in initially to replace Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. He still had the best part of the season to go, and he was really good against everybody other than Celtic. Other than Celtic, he was really taking care of business, and he got to the point where he was winning 3-0 at Tynecastle, the sticky midweek league fixture, winning 4-1 at Easter Road, sticky midweek league fixture, against one of the kind of more famous city clubs, a bit like Dundee at Dens Park. And I think he won 3-0 at Livingston and 3-0 at St Mirren as well on Saturdays, during the weekend. But still, absolutely fantastic in that respect. Michael Beale took care of business against everybody else, but that took him to, it was February before he recorded that 3-0 win at Tynecastle. It was March. I think we were well into March before we did the 4-1 win over Hibs at Easter Road. He started his first, that was at Pittodrie, that really, late win against Aberdeen at Pittodrie by the narrowest of margins. And then he followed up with that kind of, not in any way impressive, just getting it done in no more 1-0 win over Ross County in Dingwall. I think that was his next away game. Just before Christmas. So that's, Clement has gone in there and he's recorded a 5-0. Michael Beale never beat anybody by 5 clear goals. I think we put 5 past St Mirren in the league last season, but they'd scored 2 in that game at Ibrox, and they were giving us a real hard time for long periods in that match. And the big gap between the first and the second goal that happened tonight, it didn't affect us as much as the big gaps between the first and the second goals. And both those 4-0 wins over Livingston, it didn't affect us as a support as much, because in his very first game, Beale beat Hibs 3-2, end-to-end stuff, the lead changing hands in his first league game in charge. Clement's was 4-0, it was 2-0 at half-time. another 2-0 in the second half. It was a 4-0 win we had over Hibs. He also had 2 0-0 halves, obviously, against Sparta Prague, a penalty at the end of each half against Hearts, and then he scored. His team have led after 5 minutes in the first half, scored after 5 minutes in the first half tonight, and after 6 minutes at the start of the second half. It's a kind of a symmetry, little patterns. You just start seeing everything as being poetic when you're just having that honeymoon period with a new manager. I'm going to enjoy it because I think we all deserve it to get a bit of belief back in the system, but it's been earned. And so when it took us like 46 minutes between the first and second goal tonight, there wasn't that same level of panic. Well, not in the Rangers support anyway, I don't think. And of course we end up, it's like 23 minutes between the second and the third goal. 10, 11 minutes between the third and fourth, and like 9 minutes between the fourth and fifth. It's like the momentum is gathering, it's augments that snowball effect. Although it was all about rainfall tonight, and this is in the Scott Foam Stadium, and that then seemed to be on fire. It was like ironically, it was a health and safety course, all the different types of fire extinguishers you can get. I'm making jokes about drugs, as I say, but Philip Clement, and you should never joke about drugs. They're bad. Kids, don't do them. Just like Nancy Reagan said. And I think the one thing, if you're on drugs, then you'll be looking at it and you're thinking, how can... Philip Clement also said in that press conference the other day that the biggest puzzle in football was how these Rangers players were so unfit so late in the season. Or at this point in the season, there were so many Rangers players that were so unfit. There were so many injuries, and he said that was the biggest puzzle in football. But I think the biggest puzzle in football is how a game can be, at 7:45 or a school night anyway, and then it kicks off 3/4 of an hour late, and then it gets delayed again for 20 minutes, and it kicks off. If you're on the drugs, it kicks off late because the city's underwater. It's Atlantis we're playing in. That the pitch was flooded. It had an inspection earlier yesterday because there's so much water at Dens Park. And then there's so much water stopping us getting to the stadium. And we scuba dive into Dens Park, and we end up, the players swim down the tunnel onto the pitch to get the game started. I don't know how many minutes were involved. I was watching it on DTV. I don't do the VPN, ITN, VIP thing because I'm scared that I'm going to get accosted by the FBI, who've worked out that I'm not the world's greatest commuter, working in Glasgow city centre during the day and then logging onto my laptop from Melbourne, Australia to watch Rangers TV at night. So I just paid up the $14.99 up front. I know I'm a mug. To DTV, very nice they were too. There was no build-up whatsoever. Just had a big banner up saying, game delayed, kick-off 8:30, we'll talk to you then, basically. That's fine, boys. And then they had the match clock up in the top corner, and it was done. It was done as soon as the game was 45 minutes late, and then it stops again after 3 minutes. That clock never come back for the whole of the first half. So I had no idea what time it was the clocks went back on Sunday. That was adding to the confusion, I would imagine. But it's Atlantis, and the game does start, and then it's on fire. The city's on fire. It's the white fire of heaven, and then it turns into the red fire of hell. And we all the blue jackets and that underneath the blue manager's jackets and that in the Rangers end at Dens Park. It looks like it's red with the blue. It's the kit. It's the kit we were wearing last night. That fourth kit. It's the fire of hell on our kit. We're wearing the kit from hell. That's why we won 5-0, because we're burning up the moisture in the pitch. Our players are running on dry grass, and the Dundee players are left, wallowing about in the mud with the evaporating moisture up in the air above them like a noxious gas. And I just want to know, how on earth can you get a 45-minute delay on a midweek fixture and another 20-minute delay on top of that, but Ryan Jack still manages to score the earliest Rangers goal of the season? How's that happening? That's the biggest puzzle in football, Mr. Clement. But you're a fallible god, but you're a god anyway. And it was absolutely nuts. It was a totally surreal atmosphere. So I'm actually struggling to believe that we won 5-0, because it just came in the context of all these delays. And I was having that little joke to myself, and I'm thinking about the more excitable Celtic fans you get out there. Every support has excitable fans. Listen to me right now, if you can bear to. I'm not having a go at the whole Celtic support, but some of them would probably start to think, if we won this game last night, And that helped us kind of catch up with Celtic to be thinking, well, the game should just have went ahead at 7:45 Sporting Integrity. If the Rangers team bus happens to be, circling round an Ur statuette, or it's stuck outside the Victoria and Albert Museum, well, that's their fault. That's their fault for not taking out a hotel in Dundee the night before. It's a lovely city, plenty of great hotels. Dundee should just kick off and, just bang the ball into an empty net, be 20-0 up by the time Rangers actually arrive. That would have been fair. That would have been sporting integrity. I thought I'd make a wee humorous comment about that on Elon Musk's X at the end of the evening. But then, about 2 minutes after the game did kick off, we got the kind of thing where Peter Lawwell will think, he's got a case. The kind of thing that Peter Lawwell is not beneath exploiting the hell out of to get, maybe points taken off teams or whatever like that. He's got form when it comes to Dens Park. He's been in about their spam folder, telling them what was stuck in there and what to get out of it and what it should say when it came to awarding Celtic a league title without completing the actual league fixtures. This is the way Lawwell has operated the whole time he's been at Celtic. I'm not trying to say we're whiter than white, of course, but it's all about influence, it's all about politicking, and he's been the top man for a few years now. Even when he wasn't, he was working his backside off to get some sort of leverage on Rangers in their second spell under Walter Smith, and he certainly managed it in 2007, 2008. Quite almost hilarious if it wasn't so sick. The various ways in which the sporting integrity thing was used during that season to claw us back in the league. So when we kind of set the stadium on fire, which is what it looked like, that the Bob Shankly stand was lit, as Dem Youth would say. There is a chance where there's fire alarms going off and something like that, stuff like that the game's getting held up again. I think Mr. Law could start getting interested. So we need to watch that one. I'm right down the middle. I thought it looked amazing. It looked absolutely fantastic, and we need the Union Bears. They make such a difference to the Rangers players, more than anything else, I would imagine. When Ibrox has been like a library for much of this season in particular, like 3 stands of Rangers dads just grumbling away saying this isn't good enough. The young dudes, the militant wing in the Broomlands, in the front of the Broomland, they keep the rhythm going, they keep the bass line going, they get some noise going into the players' ears to let them know that they are loved. They push them on, and that's part of it last night, even though it wasn't, the flares weren't limited to the part of the Bob Shankly stand, the away end behind the goal, where the ultras, the Union Bears and that congregated. It was all over the stand. I was listening to it on DTV, and their microphone broke up as well. They weren't having a good night either. Their microphone was kind of breaking up even before the smoke took over the pitch. But I could make out them saying, Brian Ferry cover versions aside, that smoke was getting in their eyes. And I'm thinking, if they're in the gantry under the roof of the dairy, what must it be like in the actual Bob Shankly stand? By the way, Rangers support also in the main stand as well. Massive support we had last night. Everybody on their feet. It looked absolutely jumping. A tremendous atmosphere. A real sense of belief that Clermont's got going again. But if you're in there, I've been in at Hampden, the Scottish Cup semi-final last season, much bigger stadium, mind you, but both ends were heavy-duty pyrotechnics in that game, and we just hung about. Smell of cordite, bit of smoke gets in your eyes, all part of the atmosphere. You wait for it to clear. A lot easier at Hampden, and then on you go with the game. But it was a bit like that situation tonight where a player gets injured and he's obviously, he's got over it, he's ready to play again, but the referee makes him go off the park and then come back on. Whereas the smoke had cleared, kind of Italian Milan derby style at San Siro, the smoke cleared and the players are ready to go, but then they get taken off the pitch. And the referee Kevin Clancy had get taken over to the side of the pitch by a policeman, basically. And how often have we prayed? How much do we think that if there's one referee who deserves to get taken away by the police, it's Kevin Clancy. This is serious, no jokes, folks. The policeman was pointing up to the Bob Shankly stand. I don't know if he was talking about the fire alarm going off. We couldn't hear it properly over the DTV. But yeah, I was 15 years old on the 11th of May 1985. I was at Easter Road, actually. Rangers were losing 1-0 to Hibs in a fairly meaningless end-of-season league game, and there was pretty much a full-scale riot. the fences separating the two sets of supporters on the old terrace in the Easter Road get knocked down, and they just went at each other. I was only 15. I was like, this is amazing. Just watching from a safe distance. Well, my uncle and his mates get fired in. But it ended up they're all there's supporters on the pitch and everything like that. The game get held up and it wasn't reported in any way the next day, not because of any Masonic conspiracy, but because the papers were just dominated by the tragedy at Valley Parade. Bradford, 56 people losing their life because of fire in a stand. Now, a different scenario. It went a long way to changing how football stadiums are built and looked after. It was an old wooden stand, as we know, but horrific stuff. And you've got to bear that in mind when it comes to pyro at football matches. See, I don't know what it's like being in amongst it. Maybe, I wasn't at the game, I can't comment. Let us know. Let us know in the old comments, as they say on proper podcasts, if you were at the game, what you thought of the pyro. It looked fantastic, but it also looked a hell of a dangerous as well. And that's got to be the first concern always when it comes to stuff like that. Even if you're super partisan, you're super like, I don't care. Going to football is transgressive. It's part of the fun of going to the football, really, is being a bit more boisterous, a bit more kind of rowdy in general. So if you're eschewing the kind of physical dangers of pyrotechnics, you could at least have a wee think about the fact that the likes of Lowell and his cohorts could be taking points away from us. They could remove that performance, that excellent performance, that 5-goal win. They could wipe it off the books if they could get enough support for it. We're giving them an opportunity, but something to bear in mind. Nobody gives a hoot what I think about it. Obviously, I've got no influence in these kind of things. The supporters don't care what I think, but that's my 2 cents worth. The game did get underway. Rangers had 10 changes to the lineup, the starting lineup on Sunday. 4 changes, and the 4 changes were in the 4 departments. There's 1 change in each of the kind of 4-2-3-1 departments of the formation that Clement's playing. It's a continuation of the formation that Beale was playing. It's a common formation, obviously, but it's part of the whole thing. He doesn't want to alter this kind of mantra of not wanting to alter too much too quickly. So the only thing he's altering too quickly is the score lines by which we are winning. That'll do for me, big man. That's absolutely fine. But out went Ben Davis. I've not seen pre-match or post-match stuff. I've not even spoken to the boys on the WhatsApp group. There's a lot of stuff going on to find out if that was an injury or anything like that, if he's just been rested for Sunday. I can't see the manager prioritising the cup semi-final ahead of a league game. That's not one of the other mantras he's putting out just now, is that every game is equally important, but it's got to take it one game at a time, so to speak. But in came Leon Balogun at left-sided centre half for a rare outing in the first team. The sitting 2 in midfield, Ryan Jack came in to replace Nico Raskin, as we thought he would, because he came on when Raskin had to go off injured on Sunday. But again, Cifuentes on the bench again, didn't start again under Clement. That's something to notice. And in the attacking 3, you had Scott Wright starting in place of Todd Cantwell. Is it the heavy pitch? Does he not want to risk his main playmaker, Todd Cantwell, ahead of that cup semi-final? Is he prioritising that over anyway, who knows? But the big one, the one that had corks popping all over Rangers land, from even in actual Chicago and actual Melbourne, Australia, where they are watching it on Rangers TV legitimately. When the news came in that Danilo was starting and Dessers was on the bench, everybody's celebrating. Absolutely horrendous. Shame on the lot of yous. I was as well. And we started absolutely fantastically. We'd got Lammers though. Lammers started, and Lammers is fancied. I think it's now official that Lammers is fancied in that number 10 slot by the manager. Yeah, maybe until Tom Lawrence comes back or whatever like that. Needs must, but he's getting a regular game under him. He's a regular game, and he's in that 10 slot more times than not, or the central part in the attacking 3 behind the main striker. However you want to frame it. Simo on the left, as per. But yeah, away we went. 5th minute of the game, after a 20-minute delay between the 3rd minute and the 4th minute, and we'd already had a chance on goal. I think Isima worked a 1-2 with Ridvan Yilmaz, and he missed a pretty good chance. Put it right wide of the post. And then we have big Leon Balogun, who's looking for a guy who's not playing regular first team football and is in the senior stage of his career, he's looking like a Tour de France kind of domestique. He's absolutely ripped, absolutely lean, and he just took the ball from Jack Butland in his own box and proceeded to bomb right up in the middle of the park, or right down the kind of inside left channel, if you like, across the halfway line up to the edge of the Dundee box, and plays the daintiest, loveliest little ball to Danilo, the masked marvel. He runs onto it, receives it absolutely perfectly, lashes a shot all in the one stride, to Carson, the Dundee goalkeeper, who seems to have it, then just basically scoops it out of his own hands, spoons it out to the incoming, ever aware, one of my personal heroes, Ryan Jack, and he puts it in at the back post, 1-0 to the Rangers. And then the game kind of descended a bit. It became a bit quagmire-ish, like the pitch itself, obviously affected by the pitch. A few bookings, 2 for Dundee, 1 for Balogun. And a pitch like that is so heavy that it was actually inspected, as I say, earlier on in the day. It invites, it entices players into sliding tackles. You know what it's like yourself? You've been playing five-a-side, you're on the AstroTurf, and then you go in there, a bit of grass, it's nice and wet, you think, I'm loving this. And I was more worried about injuries, or as worried about injuries to players ahead of Sunday as I was about us getting ourselves to 2-0. The early goal can sometimes, Clement's talking about this, it's a white page, every player's got a white page, and it always makes me think about the tyranny of the empty page, the thing for writer's block or whatever, and it's the tyranny of the early goal as well, because sometimes, particularly when a team that's been having a hard season, they go a goal up early and they think, oh, thank God, they're so relieved that they've got off to a great start that they forget to keep it going. They go down the gears because they've got so much angst in their dying to come out, it actually drains them, and the opposition then take over and we can't get back up the gears. But although the second goal didn't come, Dundee looking quite dangerous through Scott Tiffany a few times, getting a few corners. It's a slippy pitch, you never know what's going to happen. They could end up spooning one into the back of our net just by accident, if nothing else. But John Lundstrom was mostly keeping Tiffany away from our defence, and Tiffany didn't reappear for the second half, and I was quite pleased about that. Just shows you what I know. But yeah, we were down the tunnel. I was thinking that Yilmaz, after the first 10 minutes, I thought he was going to end up having a cracking game, because he let one of the Dundee players he turned inside him and let the guy go sliding off the pitch onto the track. It was absolutely classic. He seemed to be a one-man kind of pressing machine for that first 10 minutes, but then the game, as I say, got a bit bitty. Danilo missed a cracking chance. He's one-on-one. He did the kind of hard bit, a lovely bit of work to play through the box, and he's going to one-on-one with Carson again, just kicks it straight at him. So we come down the tunnel for the second half, though, and I say it's within 6 minutes. It's 2-0. And before that, actually, I think it was like the 49th minute or something like that, there was James Tavernier plays the ball forward from his own box. It looks like he's hooking it up the park, but it goes straight to Danilo, and even though he scores a goal, this is my kind of favourite bit of the night. He nods the ball backwards over the two centre halves who are rushing in. He nods the ball, it's kind of forward, side on. The two centre halves are coming up to the halfway line to get him. He takes them out of the game completely, and he's in behind them. He puts a shot over the bar, and you're worried about it at the time because it's only 1-0. But what a move! He just showed his movement, his kind of the fluidity of his play. It was really exciting. It was Morelos-esque, shall I say? Maybe even right down to the finish. But it was an exciting bit of play. But you're thinking, is that going to be it? Are we going to keep struggling? 90 seconds later, absolutely kind of fantastic move with Scott Wright. He's getting the ball, I think, from Ryan Jack, and he holds off a defender, gets inside, nice ball inside to Sima, who is kind of dead on the middle of the D at the edge of the box. First time ball, beautifully weighted into Danilo, who's anticipated the whole thing, kept himself on side, but he's there bang on time, slots it away into the bottom left, his bottom left. Just a lovely, such a competent, fast moving, fluid passing goal. Fantastic. And it's 2-0. You're thinking, hopefully that's the game done, but we miss another couple of chances. Sam Lammers, he's doing that thing where he looks like one day he is going to score a goal like Joe Aribo scored against Braga the first time he played Braga at Ibrox, the comeback game, and he started the comeback by beating like 25 players and slotting it into the bottom of the net. And I think Sam Lammers is so dribbly, he's got the dribbling skills, he's going to do that one day, but it'll be the only time he ever does it, I think. He seems to kind of get himself dizzy with his dribbling, and sometimes falls over, sometimes he can't get the shot, and he can't get a proper pass off. And you're thinking, he's going to have that kind of game again. We can't quite convert the chances. I feel as if Danilo had a chance every 2 seconds. I think he could have had about 6 goals tonight, so he's probably missed another one. And then we had Super Jack Butland in goals, pulling off a cracking double save, long range shot. parries that, comes out just as I think Bakayoko's coming in for the kill. He's coming in to slot it under him, the rebound. Jack Butland's down there, out it goes for a corner. Absolutely fantastic. He just stopped himself. He's celebrating, but he was entitled to celebrate it because that's him. The points tallies back up. He's definitely well out in the front still in the Rangers Player of the Year battle. Jack Butland just didn't have a lot to do, but when he did it properly. It was quite, he stopped those. Fair's fair. I used to talk about these wee flaps he was having at the back post. He's cut them out. He's cut them out altogether. He's absolutely great, Jack Butland. We then have that thing where if you're going to do the comparison between Clement and Beale, which is becoming more and more unfair, a comparison as time goes on, he likes a wee substitution on the hour mark. Off goes Seema at 61 minutes, and then with his kind of provocatively low-slung socks and the garishly white tape, amounts of white glowing tape at the bottom of his socks, the suspiciously kind of continental gloves, for an outfield player, and that outrageously kind of gender fluid hairdo. On comes Todd Cantwell, and I don't know what Todd Cantwell did. He come on, all I know is he come on and it was 2-0, and by the time we went back off it was 5-0, so he's done something. He was moving about. I was just kind of captivated by the fact the whole team were just function the way you want. What have we been saying? What have we been saying for like 2.5 years? We should just go out and blow away one of these teams. I wish we'd just go out and get this done, just blow one of these teams away. Now, we had to wait until the second half before we properly started banging in the goals, but we blew them away, and then some, and I was just loving every moment of it. Todd Cantwell got involved a couple of times, as he does. The boys on DTV were telling me that he's got a reputation as a diver, but I think he should have had a penalty tonight when he was barged over in the box. But it was Sam Lammers. He stole the show at 74 minutes. A cracking ball by John Lundstrom from kind of halfway into the Dundee half. Slashes this ball right across, kind of cross ball diagonal up to Danilo, and Danilo he's moving backwards and just slowly to the edge of the Dundee box. He's moving backwards and he's passing the ball back the way. Do you know how difficult that is? I mean, difficult for me. I fall over just trying to look up when I'm crossing the road or something like that. But that's phenomenal. It really, it probably went under the radar, but it's a brilliant layoff to Sam Lammers. But the brilliance hadn't really started. Sam Lammers won. Never mind the dancing shoes stuff. Right foot takes the ball to the left-hand side to take the Dundee centre-half out of the game. Left foot, top corner, postage stamp. You heard the ding, the donk of the atonal thud off the underside of the bar as the thing went crashing into the top corner. What a way to end a goal drought. Absolutely fantastic finish, and up he went, and really enjoyed his moment with the arsonists in the Bob Shankly stand. Absolutely delightful scenes. Well done, the big man. He thoroughly deserved that. His big agricultural face was absolutely beaming. Not as much as the Dundee players were beaming, mind you, after with the assist of all assists from Kevin Clancy. Now, as I say, he owes us a few, so I was quite enjoying that. We thoroughly deserved it when he NFL style linebacker style blocked the Dundee player trying to get onto the ball, just outside our box as well. Nothing we can do about it. The referee is an inanimate object as far as the rules of the game are concerned. It's like a post or a corner flag or a divot. I think it was a divot that the Dundee players were calling him as he blocked this fella. Is it Luke McCowan or something? I can't remember the guy's name, but he couldn't go into the ball. It was a badging as far as the referee's concerned, but them's the rules, and the ball just fell to Sam Lammers, and that's why I've been talking about not slagging players too. They know, Lammers and Dessers know how much they've been underperforming in our eyes, and even if it's a case of they're the best they're the best we've got until we can get more players back fit, until we can get signings in January, to slag them anymore is just counterproductive. It's going to affect their confidence, because Lammers had that goal, and then there he was, 9 minutes later, he just first times that ball, a great ball into the channel for Dessers. I know you think it's a simple ball, it always looks simple in the telly, but you've got to remember he's got to judge it on the heavy turf as well. What a ball to Dessers, his other partner in slagging, his other slaggy at Ibrox. He'd come on and already had missed one from about 5 yards out with the keeper on the floor just to get his eye in. But no, fair play to Dessers as well. They're two guys who try their heart out, there's no argument about that, and he just takes the ball, goes straight into the Dundee box, and he slams the thing. The DTV, the Dundee television commentary team, who were absolutely fantastic, really good, really sporting, really generous toward Rangers, and that proper manners. Chris Sutton and Michael Stewart, they don't speak for fans of other clubs. They're just just stirring things up. This is, real respect. I found that a lot of times since COVID really started us on the path of having to every now and then, tune into the in-house TV station of our rival fans. They're actually our rival clubs, the opposition that were playing that day. Really quite respectful. I know a lot of it's because they know Rangers fans. They're representing the club officially, and there's Rangers fans that are buying, the TV coverage from them. But it's just they're talking about Connor Golson having a magnificent tackle and all that. It was a magnificent recovery tackle to calm yourself. But it was really nice. But they were saying, why did Dessers not put his foot through that chance he had from about 6 yards out? I'm like, oh boys, you definitely just watched Dundee all the time. You have not seen Rangers this season. Dessers does not know the meaning of the word put your foot through. Oh yes, he does, and he slammed that one home after that great ball from Lammers. It's 4-0 up. And then James Tavernier's getting fouled in the box at the same time as Dessers is getting fouled in the box. And I just think the Masonic conspiracy, we should have got 2 penalties, but apparently you can only get 1. And James Tavernier put it away. A year ago, the 1st of November 2022, James Tavernier was scoring the penalty to end our contention, our attempt to secure the worst ever Champions League group stage performance. We're just getting hammered left, right and centre, and there he was putting away a penalty to round off a 5-0 win. And I'll try and round off this pod. I've gone on far too long as usual, and the worst thing about it for you is I'm going to be back on Friday if Craig Ray can bear it. Craig's going to be hosting the pod on Friday, and we'll look ahead to that semi-final against Hearts, but we will also come back and talk even more. I think we're going to wallow a bit more in this 5-0 win for Rangers against Dundee. Have an absolutely fantastic Thursday, troops, and I'll see you on 5-0 Friday. Cheers.